So that's the ex-girlfriend, is it?
The old ex-girlfriend.
Jodie Foster.
Jane Foster.
The one that got away.
The one that got away.
That means escaped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Must be hard for you to see your ex-girlfriend and your ex-hammer hanging out and getting on so well.
Taika, what was the key to unlocking this story?
Just trying to do something different and progress the character. You know, this is his fourth film. I think it's the only MCU character to get a fourth film. And you know, for someone who's been around for thousands of years and has been saving lives this whole time, what was really cool was to try and figure out how to make him more human than ever and give him more human problems. And what's more human than going through a midlife crisis and trying to figure out what your purpose is in the universe. And it's a really kind of fun way of entering into the film with him being just lost and then introducing a concept that I think a lot of fans really don't think they want when you think about a Thor film, which is the idea of love. You know, I think a lot of fans are like, oh, kissing, yuck. But I think it's a really great thing. Kissing, I love kissing. But love is a really cool thing to explore in films. And I think, that was for me, like, it's not something I'd really done properly before. And, this was I'd say maybe my first romance.
When did you know you wanted to bring back Jane and introduce Mighty Thor? And also, how did Natalie react?
Well, Natalie wasn't in Ragnarok, and, I really hoped that I'd get to work with her one day. And, I've always loved her. And followed her career closely, and brought Tessa back as well. But with Natalie, I just basically, I think it was really just the storyline, which is very, it's got a lot of complexity to that character. The character's got a real, there's a real choice that character has to make in the film, and the thing that also, it didn't hurt playing a superhero, being able to lift the hammer and actually finally doing something instead of being the girlfriend on the side.
How much convincing did it take for Chris to show his butt?
I just said, if you do this, we'll sell millions more tickets. Your bonus will go up. It was purely exploitative. It doesn't need to be in there. Doesn't help the story. I just wanted to show it off because it's a great butt.
Christian Bale said he didn't know what the MCU was. So how do you pitch him this? And then do you settle down with him and have like a big MCU marathon to get him sort of up to speed?
No. I started trying to explain the film, and I think I just gave up because there's just too many things to try and remember and think how things are linked. And, I don't know if he saw other films. I know that he's watched Ragnarok a lot. I know his kids, his family really loved that film. And so when I met him, he said, I've seen Ragnarok about 10 times. And I think my kids have basically said, you need to do this movie. And so he did it. He was just trying to be a good dad.
You mentioned off the top, Thor, he's the first Marvel character to get a fourth movie. Why do you think he's resonated? Why do you think people gravitated and have really loved watching this journey that Chris has taken people on over the last decade?
I think it's Chris. It's just who he is. You talk to him, he's a friendly, reliable guy who you want to be on an adventure with. And I think that he's a movie star, and audiences want to see heroes played by people who they would like to hang out with. And I've hung out with Chris, and I still want to hang out with him. It's like, for me, Kurt Russell is one of the greatest, movie hero stars for me. And I sort of feel like Chris has kind of got that same feel to him.
Guns N' Roses, I want to ask you about that. Did you have Guns N' Roses blaring as you were writing this movie? Was it always their music that was going to be the soundtrack for this?
I had a bunch of things. That I was listening to when I was writing. There was a lot of ABBA, because it's a great, strong Viking band, and there's some GNR for sure. There was a lot of metal, and there was a lot of Kate Bush, and this is years before Stranger Things. came and ruined that song for everyone.
So when I talked to you a few years ago, you said Thor 4 could be black and white. It could be silent. What if there was a Thor 5? What do you think that would be? How do you imagine, what kind of adventure would you like to see him go on?
Radio play. I don't know. I think, I guess for me to do it, Chris has got to be involved, and it's just got to push everything even further and to see what more we can get away with. And if Chris is down, then I trust him. And I think also the great thing about Thor is, if you look at the comics, there are versions of Thor where he's like thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, like he's a grandfather. Like Chris could do this for the rest of his life if he wanted.
They're in the Shadow Realm.
How do you know?
The atmosphere there has a darkness like no other. It's as if color fears to tread. It's unmistakable.
Well, then, if it's color we need, let's bring the rainbow.
Bring the rainbow. Was that a catchphrase or something?
She's only been a Thor for a minute. I mean, saving lives she's quite good at, but the rest of it, she needs work.
How many catchphrases have there been?
A lot.
Yep, jump the gun.
Hang on, he moves through shadows and he's going to the Shadow Realm. It seems like that's where he's going to be the most powerful.
You're right. We can't just go marching in there. It could be a trap.
Are you thinking what I think you're thinking?
I'm thinking it.
What are we thinking?
Thinking
I'm
what?
thinking it too.
Omnipotent city.